You are watching the New American Media. Hello, America. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us. This Friday, July 27, 2012. My name is Brian Engelman, and you are here listening to thenewamericanmedia.com. Do us a favor, if you're listening to this live, connect with us on Facebook. We are at American_media_. Go ahead and find our page on Facebook and like it, because we like it when you do that. And if you're watching after the fact on YouTube, please click the subscribe button. That's the way that you can stay in touch with what we're doing. The way that we continue what we're doing is we have sponsors. Our sponsor for this segment is Three Black Cats Studio. Just go on and take a look at the website, folks. It's really cool stuff. Tribal belly dance accessories and homemade herbal products. Take a look around. Three Black Cats. Website is the number 3blackcats.storenvy.com. That's the number 3blackcats.storenvy.com. One E there. I want to thank you guys for continuing to check out what we're up to. We've done a lot of NBA talk over the past several months. We've had a lot of great conversation and really good insight there. But I don't know about the rest of you, but I am really starting to feel summer. You know, it's different in the Midwest, where you have heat waves and the humidity, and you have the seasons changing. It's a little bit more prevalent than out here in Los Angeles. Every day is usually pretty nice. It's pretty decent. There's a really hot week or two, and there's a chilly week or two, but it's pretty much 11 great months of weather. So we don't feel it, but I'm finally starting to feel that summer is here, and that means football. That's why we are debuting. Well, we're continuing our rollout of this segment, which is called Strictly Browns. We are pleased once again to be joined with Brandon Odell, co-hosting this segment today. Brandon, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing wonderfully. How about yourself?
I'm living the dream. I really am living the dream, and it is football time. And I was checking out the website yesterday, just watching TV. The really good win for the Indians against Justin Verlander. And then I kind of woke up this morning to all this news of the Cleveland Browns are being sold. And then it's instantly, well, they're not going to move the team. And I'm like, wait, that's the first thing out of your mouth? Well, then I'm concerned that you're going to move the team. And I know that Los Angeles, my fair city now, we're getting a team. We might get two teams. There's a stadium deal that's done. It's in the works. It's just a matter of, is it going to be Jacksonville? Is it going to be Buffalo? Is it going to be Minnesota? Could it be Cleveland? And I guess that's where we have to start today, Brandon. Let's talk about this, because the Cleveland Browns' Randy Lerner has begun and continued talks with a truck stop magnate named Jimmy Haslam. So you have a situation here. This is Haslam, who is a self-described 1,000% Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Let's pick it up from there and fill in the gaps. What else do we need to know about this situation, Brandon?
Well, first of all, I have to ask you a philosophical question.
Ooh.
Because as you had just mentioned, that there is a possibility, a very strong possibility, of Los Angeles getting a football team.
Yes.
Not that it is going to happen, because supposedly everything that is coming out of the Cleveland Browns media outlets is that there is a guarantee in this deal to keep the Browns in Cleveland. But throw that out the window for a second. Say that, hypothetically speaking, the Browns are moved to Los Angeles, and become Los Angeles' franchise. Could you, in good conscience, find yourself rooting for that team, or would you feel like you were betraying your hometown by rooting for them?
And I have thought of this. I have thought about this. Would it be named in honor of Tim Brown, the Los Angeles Raider great? Do you think they'd keep the team name?
And also the Tecmo Bowl great.
Okay, hey, let's rattle off a few of our favorite Tecmo Bowl players. You gotta love Bo Jackson, though, right?
absolutely. I'll tell you who was a hidden gem was you loved to be the New York Giants because of the fact that you had LT on defense, as well as Carl Banks if you wanted to give LT a little bit of a playoff. But on offense, you go over the top to Stacy Robinson.
Okay. I don't know that I did that a whole lot. I know that I used to use Christian Okoye. In between Okoye and Bo Jackson, on the Chiefs, of course. Christian Okoye and Bo Jackson, people would bounce off of them. They would just run, and the defenders would explode out into the sidelines.
Okoye especially, it was like a pinball machine or something like that.
Like Peyton Hillis when he's not holding out for a better contract.
Or running midweek to go get married.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Or getting strep throat, or let's be honest. Peyton Hillis, for as great of a one season as he did have with the Browns, and that was an excellent season.
Cover of Madden, the cover of Madden, because he was that big of a beast, that good of a season.
And universally respected throughout the NFL amongst fans and players
at the time. At the time,
but really, just absolutely ruined his image through his antics last year. And you know what? I hope the best for him, but I could certainly see the Browns as far as why they did what they did. If you would have said after the 2010 season that the Browns were going to get rid of Peyton Hillis, I would. Every single Browns fan in the world would have told you that you were absolutely nuts. But either way, out with the old, in with the new. And speaking of the new, we do have Jimmy Haslam III, who is this prospective buyer of the Cleveland Browns, part of an ownership group that also, interestingly enough, includes former Eagles president Joe Banner. So it's not just you had mentioned earlier that Haslam is a Pittsburgh Steeler fan. Actually, he is a minority shareholder in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, we all know the Rooney family owns the Pittsburgh Steelers, as they have for generations at this point. But he is a minority shareholder in the Pittsburgh.
Brandon, I got something here.
Upon his purchase of the majority shares of the Cleveland Browns, he would have to give up his minority stake in the Pittsburgh Steelers because they would refer to that as a conflict of interest.
That's exactly what I was getting at, Brandon. That's exactly what I was starting to get at. It would be a conflict of interest because you could deplete one team in order to boost the other, but it's also a matter of pride. It's, well, okay, yeah, if you want to help us become champions, that's all we want. We want championships. But you're going to have to disavow your affiliation with our arch rival. And let's remember, when Art Modell took the Cleveland Browns to Baltimore, the only ownership group that stood up and said anything against what Art Modell should or should not be able to do was the Rooney family over in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. They said, this is wrong. We do not support this. This is not good for the game. This is not good for this rivalry. It's not good for our fans or their fans. This is wrong. The only ownership group that did that was the Rooney family. So I will forever respect them for that and continue to loathe them as a people in regard to the football team that they put on the field, because we need to defeat them every single year, sweep them 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, win the division, and go to Super Bowls. So they must go down in order. That's the dragon we have to slay. But that ownership group stood up for the Browns back in the day. Let's all remember that.
And defeating the Steelers, sweeping them every year. Unicorns exist as well, by the way.
Brandon, look, we're going to do it. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but we're going to do it. It's time for it to turn around. I've had enough, and I think you know what? I rarely say this, but I think karma owes Cleveland something. I think after 4 or 5 decades now, almost 50 years since 1964, I think it's time for karma. I think it's time for the sunlight to shine on Cleveland. And what better way than to play some hard-mouth, smash-nose football and defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers 2 times in a row, do the same thing to the Baltimore Ravens, and get some civic pride back. Isn't it about time that happens, Brandon?
It is interesting that you referred to it as hard-mouthed, smash-nosed, rather than hard-nosed, smash-mouth. You kind of got things a little bit mixed up there. But yes,
if you think about it, if your mouth, you can take a punch. And then you smash their nose. I mean, they're interchangeable. It was just a twist. It was it was adding cilantro to the salsa. You went, ooh, wait a minute. Now that was something different, kind of, but still the same salsa.
It's that, or it could be that you're stupid. One or the other. But either way, going back to Jimmy Haslam, let's talk about him a little bit. You would recognize the family's business anytime you take a drive down I-75 or perhaps heading towards the Midwest or the Great Plains on the freeways of America. His family, they own the Pilot Flying J travel centers throughout the United States. And I certainly can say that I have stopped at quite a few of these different places of business throughout my lifetime, and certainly never thought that I would have such an intimate knowledge of the owner of that business, that's for sure.
Intimate knowledge, because you hear truck stops, you think of lot lizards, and you think of meth, and you think of some things like that. But the Flying J ones are more of the more up and up, well lit. If you got to stop somewhere an hour outside of Lima, Ohio, something like this it's a decent option. When you're getting low, you're down under like half a tank, and you go, well, I got to stop somewhere, but I have about an hour to make my choice. Do I hit that sketchy place or that nice place? And Flying J have always been one of those decent places, right? You would describe them.
Pilot as well. I mean, I think they're separate entities. You usually don't see them. I don't think that you see them called the same thing. I've seen Flying J's. I've seen more pilots. There are pilots around the more of, I guess, my neck of the woods that I am familiar with. But even if you haven't seen them, you have to respect the fact that his company is the 11th largest privately owned company in the United States. And
wow,
if you think about that for a while, you have to admit that that's certainly a pretty impressive number right there, and not necessarily something that you would equate with someone who is the owner of convenience stores.
They must be doing something right, is the point. They understand whether it was his father and this guy's taken over. There's talk about that. But if you've come up, it's a lot like the Pittsburgh Steelers, Brandon. If you've been surrounded by excellence for decades, and that's the expectation, and there's a lot of knowledge in the building, and there's an infrastructure designed to help you, that's a lot different than the chaos the Cleveland Browns franchise has been in since 1999 after Art Modell stole the team and took him to Baltimore. It's been a disaster for 15 years, at least, in Cleveland. And it's when you look at someone who runs the 11th largest, what did you say, the 11th largest privately owned company in the United States, that's impressive. So hopefully that managerial style can apply to the franchise and stabilize things and just, start bringing Super Bowl championships home, just like in Pittsburgh.
I think that would certainly be the fantasy of every Browns fan. I have to say that the listeners out there don't know that much of my extended family is actually from eastern Tennessee, the foothills of the Smoky Mountains and the Smoky Mountains themselves.
Love it out there. So nice out there.
Throughout the greater Knoxville area. And so certainly I spent a lot of time during my formative years in eastern Tennessee. And probably next to Ohio State, I would say that the University of Tennessee, the Volunteers, the Vols as they are known as to their fans, would be my second favorite college football team to be able to root for. And I always like to see the University of Tennessee do well. Jimmy Haslam, the Haslams are Knoxville natives, or if you are from around that area, you would refer to it as Knoxville. And so he's a Knoxville native and a major supporter of the University of Tennessee, both from an academic standpoint and an athletic standpoint. In fact, his family's last name is on the University of Tennessee's College of Business. So certainly they're doing something right. So a major University of Tennessee supporter. His father actually played football at the University of Tennessee and was a starter on their 1951 national championship team, as a matter of fact. And if you don't think that that is enough in the way of interesting things about this guy that could possibly become the new owner of the Browns, do you know who his brother is?
His brother. Now, I don't know who the brother was, but I did hear that. Wait a minute. Is he the one that's currently, what is it, governor, mayor? Hang on, let me think here. Governor of Tennessee or something like that? Is that the one?
His brother, Bill Haslam, is the current sitting governor of Tennessee.
There we go. All right. Yes, I did hear about that. So that's very interesting. A family that's very connected and just it sounds like whatever they end up embarking upon, it's successful. They don't think small. They succeed. And damn, isn't it about time that attitude comes to Cleveland?
Well, you know, a lot of the talk has been about Randy Lerner, the current Browns owner, and about the fact that he never wanted to own the Browns. Let's remember the fact that it was the late Al Lerner, Randy's father, who brought the expansion franchise version of the Browns back to the NFL in 1999. Randy Lerner passed away in, what was it, probably 2003, 2004, right around there somewhere, and his son, Al Lerner passed away at that, and Randy Lerner took over controlling interest of the football team. There have always been a lot of rumblings around Cleveland that Al Lerner's widow actually has a lot of pull still in terms of some of the larger decisions that are made by the Cleveland Browns. And in fact, there were some rumors that it was she, not Mike Holmgren, who was the one who pressured the Browns management to draft Brandon Weeden when they did. And so the Lerner family, certainly Randy Lerner, the current actual owner in whatever respect you want it to be, never necessarily wanted to own the Browns.
Well, he's a soccer guy. He owns a team across the pond. He's a soccer guy.
Aston Villa, a team that has been in a lot of ways very similar to the Browns. Just you're talking about English Premier League football, you know, the soccer variety of football, but a team that has been down for a long time and has had a few glimpses of success, but never been able to sustain it. And so he is the owner of that team as well. But he is a fan of the Browns, but maybe not necessarily ever truly wanted to be an owner of the Browns. And so this gives him the opportunity to let someone else take over majority interest of the team. I'm sure that his family will still have some sort of stake in the team, just if for no other reason than just to because of the fact that his family is a Cleveland legacy, to be able to say that you are still involved in some way from that respect. So I don't think he's going to be completely giving up 100% of his controlling interest in the team, but he would be a minority shareholder, and basically maybe this will be the best thing for everyone involved. The thing about the NFL that is different from certainly different from some of the other sports, especially when you're talking about the Cleveland teams, is the fact that for the most part, I think that in the NFL, everyone pays their teams roughly the same thing. You know, the other sports, or NBA has a salary cap as well, but it just seems like there are always teams that are way over it in the NBA too and pay the luxury tax. For the most part, the NFL, all 53 players basically add up to being roughly the same thing. It's what you're able to do with them. So there's never necessarily been the complaint that Randy Lerner wasn't putting money into the team because, you know, you're all paying your players whatever the salary cap actually is. So certainly there are a few teams that go over that, but the big complaint with Randy Lerner has always been that he's a little too quick to jump the gun as far as making changes, and that has prevented any type of continuity to be able to develop with the new Browns. As a result, teams that would in other periods of time be able to have their ups and downs, when they have a couple years of downs, that's it. It's on to the next guy, and it's win now or bye-bye. And that's what it's going to be, too, with Shermer. If he doesn't win, if he's probably very poor this year and Randy Lerner's still around, he could possibly be out of a job.
Well, let me jump in there because you make quite a few points. We're talking with Brandon Odell here on Strictly Browns on the New American Media. At some point, you just need to go a different direction. You're talking about different coaches, and that if Pat Shurmur doesn't get it done, it's going to be time to change it around, whether it's with the current owner or with the previous owner. And I've been talking about this for a while. I mean, the country has a decision to make in November. We don't need to get into that here. But, I mean, you look at Chris Palmer. He had 2 years to get it right. He was fired. Butch Davis had 3.5 years to get it right. He was fired. Terry Robisky, Sr., had half a year. Not good enough. Romeo Crennel lasted the longest at 4 years. He couldn't get it done.
Terry Robisky in there.
Well, yeah, the half year when he took over for the lame duck season. But then Mangini for 2 years, and then Shurmur last year. At some point, you give a guy 2 years. You give a guy 3 years, 3.5 years, or 4 years to run things, and you say, look, we're not going in the right direction. It's time to make a coaching change. And this would be a unique opportunity to make an ownership change. Do you think changing the ownership, because it's like my dad always told me, everybody has a boss. I said, well, what about so-and-so? Well, he has a boss. And everyone works for somebody else. Everyone has a boss, whether it's the listeners, whether it's someone that signs your checks, whatever the case is. What difference do you think changing ownership, if indeed Randy Lerner did sell the Cleveland Browns to Jimmy Haslam, what difference do you think that could make? In which ways could it be good? In which ways could it be bad?
Well, I think that mostly depends on what type of an owner he wants to be. If he wants to be an owner that is very vocal and very involved in the day-to-day operations of things, a la your Jerry Joneses of the world.
And I did meet him. I'm a fan of him, by the way. Now I am.
And I think that could make it would be a monstrous difference between what we have now and what we would have at that point. However, Randy Lerner hired Mike Holmgren to basically be the de facto owner of the team when it came to any sort of official Browns business, where you have these league owner meetings and you have these other owners there, and that was Mike Holmgren. That is Mike Holmgren's job. So, in order for a new owner to take that kind of a vocal role, you would have to let go of Mike Holmgren, no?
No, not necessarily, because you could say, look, my name is Jimmy Haslam. I am now the 51% controlling interest in the Cleveland Browns. Grew up a Steelers fan. I appreciate the rivalry. I'm used to bringing championships home, and that's what I intend to do here. I'm taking over ownership and obligations from this team, and Mr. Randy Lerner has went in his different direction. He's deciding to do different things with his life, and we wish him well. The team that I have now has Mike Holmgren running things. What is his official title? It's president of the Browns and GM. What is his official title?
president, and then obviously the GM is Tom Heckert.
Right. So he's the president of the Cleveland Browns, and say, look, I'm going to work with Mike Holmgren, who, if you look across his resume with what he did in Green Bay with the Packers, if you look at his resume with what he did in Seattle with the Seahawks, with his football knowledge and experience, I'm going to work with him. I didn't hire him, but if I were to go out there and look for someone with the right experience that we need, he has the right experience. We're going to begin a new partnership here, and we're going to move forward focused on winning the division, getting into the playoffs every year, and bringing home multiple Super Bowl championship trophies to the city of Cleveland. And you just go from there. It's like, this is what I bought. I bought a product. Why would you buy a product and then sell off the assets? You know, this is a guy that, whether he's succeeded or not in Mike Holmgren, he's a guy that is at least familiar with where everything is around the facilities. He knows who everybody is, and he knows how the system's operating. Whether we need to completely gut and change the system, that's fine. But I would say, if you could pick anyone on the open market with looking for the right types of experience, he's up there with football knowledge. He knows how to put a winning product on the field, or at least he's done it before. Let's give it a shot with the guy. I don't think he would have to go necessarily.
Well, I guess I think it would. What I'm saying is, Mike Holmgren serves Randy Lerner's job. If someone else is going to come in and do Randy Lerner's job, then in that point, what is Mike Holmgren's job?
Okay. Co-president, assistant president, vice president of the company. You're our number one football guy, but don't forget that I write the checks as the owner, and you're my guy. You're the main person I've hired to run these things. I don't know, vice president. Call him vice president. You know, and if you want to call the shots, you got to have that power structure, that power struggle again. You got to say, well, player personnel moves are handled by so-and-so. You know, that's always written into the contracts of head coaches, just to make sure, do I get to call the shots with my players, or are you going to keep jumping in here and drafting people at the wrong spot? You know, you heard that rumor that, what was it, Randy Lerner's wife was the one that pressured him to take Brandon Whedon as high as they did. I hadn't heard that rumor. What I did hear, I heard about...
Wait, hold on, just so everyone gets it straight, it was Randy Lerner's mother, Al Lerner's wife.
Oh, Al Lerner's wife. So Grandma Lerner.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. All right. So, you know, I mean, you have rumors like that, but I've always heard the one that Al Lerner was the one that was really behind the scenes responsible for moving and taking the Cleveland Browns away from Cleveland in the first place, only then to later come back and buy the team. So where do you think all of that plays out as far as how it actually went down?
I mean, you know, let's be honest. It would be very naive of us to say that either of us has any real inside knowledge on the inner workings of the greater Cleveland business circle. So who knows really how it all went down? I mean, basically, I think that from a businessman standpoint, you have to look at football as a business, and Al Lerner, I guess, is a businessman. He made a business decision. If Art Modell was a businessman, he made a business decision. You know, I mean, it's very interesting that here we are trying to have a football show, and we're really talking macroeconomics right now. So, you know, I guess at the heart of things, does it really matter who the owner is? Let's see someone put a management system, which hopefully we have, into place that is going to hire good coaching, which hopefully we have, which really I guess we don't know, but hopefully we have, and is going to draft good talent, which is something that hopefully we have. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. Throughout the years there have been a lot of, especially with the new Browns, there have been a lot of years where you've kind of said, well, if this works out and this works out and this works out, then yeah, things could be pretty good. There haven't been too many times when the team has been truly stockpiled with a lot of good young talent I think of the 2007 season. You think about your Braylon Edwards and Kellen Winslow, both of whom who had career years.
Jamal
Derek
Lewis.
Anderson obviously having a career year. Young talent that the team and the fans were truly, truly excited about. And going into 2008, we really thought the sky was the limit for the Cleveland Browns, and they stockpiled a few more people on the defense. That was when they brought in Shawn Rogers and Corey Williams. Everyone had a really positive feeling that this was their chance to take the next step. And then they blew it up. And Eric Mangini's time in Cleveland will be forever remembered as the New York Jets B team. He brought in basically every single cast-off that Rex Ryan didn't want anymore and put these guys in key starting spots. And, I have nothing against your Kenyon Colemans of the world, but they're not Jabal Sheard. And we finally have young, significant talent on both sides of the ball that has been brought in and drafted by Tom Heckert, the GM of the Browns. And I have to say that overall I feel more excited about the direction that this team is going in than, honestly, at any point, with the exception of that 2008 season, which certainly proved to be an aberration, or the 2007 season was the aberration. But I feel more optimistic about the direction this team is going in than at any point since they have come back in '99.
That is a good point. We're talking with Brandon Odell here on Strictly Browns. By the way, our sponsor, 3 Black Cats. Check out their website, the number 3blackcats.storenvy.com. Yeah, the direction of where we're headed, Brandon, it feels good for the first time in a while. Sniffing the playoffs, getting so close. I remember there's this really cool place, and I think watching NFL Game Day is a bit of a, not a holy experience. That's not the right phrase I'm looking for, but it's a very personal, energy-charged day. If you're a super football fan, it's a very energy-charged day. Either you're running your fantasy football teams, you have multiple games going, so you're trying to watch if you're a receiver, if Julio Jones is going to get you enough points to beat the guy that you're playing in fantasy football that has Cam Newton. So you're watching games that you would normally not watch. You wouldn't care about the Falcons. You wouldn't care about, the Panthers necessarily. But the experience of football is a very personal and important thing. And I during that season, I was going to Hollywood Billiards. There's a place over here in Los Angeles, and I think it's 30,000 square feet, indoor space, outdoor space, upstairs, downstairs, 20 pool tables. And what it would be is, it would be this whole couch area with multiple couches and seats, and then tables behind that and multiple flat screens. So every team got their headquarters. So if there are 30 teams in the league, there were 30 different spaces in this ginormous venue. And so you'd go there in L.A., you'd have to get there at 9 in the morning, 10 in the morning to find yourself a seat and get a drink before the place is packed because it's West Coast time. And it was really exciting during that time for me because, I'm still getting to learn people out in Los Angeles. I'd only been here for 2 or 3 years. I'm from Ohio for 25 years. And so you just show up with your Browns shirt on, and you had an instant connection with people that you may have never seen before in life, but you're instantly brothers. You're instantly family. You get it. You're not going to wear this shirt because it's cool. It's not cool. We're sharing misery. So that was a very exciting time for me, for sure. I loved that moment, and I feel even more excited of the direction we're headed in now. I couldn't agree with you anymore.
Well, I guess all that we can do is hope and pray. So I don't know if you wanted the chance to actually get into looking at the offense of the team a little bit, or if we needed to take a break before then. You tell me.
Well, Brandon, that's the beauty of running And I guess here's the difference. This is the difference between being a minority shareholder in a team and being the 51% shareholder. I get to kind of mix this up on a week-to-week basis to just the way that I'm feeling. We're trying different business models with how we want to deliver this content to fans. So I think we'll just keep it running right along here. What we'll do is I'll reset it and explain to everybody that we are listening to Strictly Browns. This is a segment on thenewamericanmedia.com. And my name is Brian Engelman, the host. Brandon Odell is sitting right beside me, only about 2,000 miles away. We're talking about the Cleveland Browns here. You are watching The New American Media.